Okay. So, hello everyone, welcome, and thanks for being here from around the world. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Lots of you have seen us before. So, you are with Drawify, and we organize every month. We organize sessions to inspire you to do visual storytelling in all kind of ways. As you know, Drawify provides you a platform where you can create visual stories with handmade drawings without having to draw yourself. And you can do so many different things with it. And today we have Verity, who became a PowerPoint friend. I don't know how your feelings are about PowerPoint. I used to hate it, to be honest. Not a tool, it's amazing, but I never used it before. And since Drawify, I combined Drawify with PowerPoint. But Verity, she showed me so many tricks that I didn't know. So I'm so happy to be here myself and to learn from her. And I'm pretty sure she's going to wow you with many tricks, and that will enable you to wow your audience. So Verity, I'm going to give the floor to you. Welcome and thanks for being here.
Right, thanks very much, Axel, for that introduction. She just built me up, so there's no pressure. And I became a Drawifier pretty much at the very beginning. So thank you for having me on board. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to now share my screen and start giving a little bit of a presentation. I'll tell you about what we're going to do today, and hopefully you'll go away from this session with some new tools. So let's just see now if, let's just see the sharing is going on. And I just need to get to, you should have like a blue screen now, yeah? Well, an aqua blue screen, yeah? Okay. So, and this is all done in PowerPoint, so you know, okay? So yeah, I'm Verity. I'm a Drawifier. And I also go under the name of Verity.inc. I rebranded this year. And welcome to the Drawify meets PowerPoint session. And so just a little bit about me. This is just a 2-minute introduction. I started off in this as a graphic recorder, which I think, most people will know what this involves, where I draw live at events. And that in turn led to me, these are just some examples, doing rich picture illustration. And so, I'll get asked to do things for internal communication and whatever in both Spanish and English, because I speak both languages. And if you didn't see the chat yet, I'm based in Las Palmas, the Gran Canaria, but obviously I'm not Spanish. And I just wanted to show just a couple of things that, when we're using PowerPoint, we often think of our canvas being this 1920 by 1080 space, but it isn't. We're going to sort of think about PowerPoint as a place. That's where the action goes on, but we don't have to use that space to show something. And just to demonstrate that, this is a rich picture that I created, which was a timeline which was extremely long. And instead of trying to shrink it down and show it all on one screen, we can actually do this kind of thing. So we can tell a story in quite an animated fashion. And so this is what we're going to get into in the session. And then apart from rich pictures, I also do explainer animation. And this is relevant as well. This is just a little very, very quick clip. Because when I approach doing a PowerPoint, I tend to use the storytelling elements of animation for putting a story together. And also I teach, and when I teach After Effects, I teach PowerPoint now, and I also teach at a business school here in Las Palmas, visual storytelling. So that's my little introduction to me. And so here we go. What am I going to do today in this session? And these are the only bullet points I'm going to use in this. We're going to start off using a single Drawify image in a PowerPoint. And this is just basic best practices of what, if you're going to use your Drawify images in PowerPoint, best way to bring them in and size them, etc., to make sure that you don't get into trouble later on. And then we're going to make some bullet points a little bit more engaging and easier to remember. And then moving on from that, why use bullet points at all to tell a story? So I'm going to continue there. And at the end, we're going to do a little bit of magic by turning Drawify templates into a story, an animated story. So if you saw the promo video I created with the rocket, that's all done in PowerPoint, and I'm going to show you how I went about doing that. So you'll learn how to do little animations. And just so you know, I never use the animation tool in PowerPoint. So let's start at the very beginning and look at what we do in PowerPoint. So if we open up a PowerPoint, we normally see this. We'll get click to add title, click to add subtitle, and we all go like lemmings into, right, okay, I've got to do a PowerPoint. I need a title and a subtitle. Or we might have this, so we can put a picture or a video in. So let's get a title and some bullet points and a picture. And so we'll end up with our random title, some bullets, and maybe we'll bring a picture in. And having done graphic recording for a very long time and seeing client presentations very often with watermark or distorted. So why don't we actually add a nice Drawify image instead of pulling something in from a photo library or whatever? This is where I've got to make sure the technology works. And I need to go across to Drawify. So let's see if this works. As if by magic. Now you should all see Drawify now, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. Now I don't know if people are following along and they're in Drawify and they're in PowerPoint. If you need me to slow down at any point, shout, because I have a habit of motoring ahead. But anyway, I'm going to try and actually jump between the two so you can see what I'm doing. And most of it will be on full screen, but occasionally I'll jump out. So here I have a Drawify image. I just put in the search term Apple, and I have my Apple, okay? So now what I want to do, I have to move my gallery out of the way because I need to share this. So when we're exporting images out of Drawify to use in PowerPoint, there is really only one option you should use, and that is PNG, because we need the images to have a transparent background. Now I might be preaching to the converted here, but not everybody knows that, but it does need to be a PNG image, okay? So if I just hit share here, and am I going to give this, I'm just leaving it as untitled design, but I am actually quite a stickler for putting labels on everything. If I go to PNG image, and it's now downloading, okay? So I've downloaded this image. So now what I'm going to do is click to my folder and to my downloads, and I have my Happy Apple, which was that one. And I actually just going to bring it into this class so I know where it is. Right then, I now need to go to my PowerPoint, and I'm actually going to escape and show the actual, you're going to see my my full PowerPoint experience here with my slides down the side. Okay, everyone following so far? Yep. Okay. So if I go to my Finder, oh, it's gone onto another screen. I knew this would happen. I need to escape here. Right, here we are. This is when you're never quite sure what screens are going to do what. Okay, so I get my Happy Apple, which I've just downloaded, and I'm just going to drag it into PowerPoint. I don't know if you know you can do that. You can just drag and drop. Not everybody knows that. And what you can see here, you can all still see, can't you? My screen. I'm going to make it a bit bigger again.
Yes, yes.
Yep. Everything good?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you can see here on this apple is you can see a bounding box. Okay. Oh, we've got somebody, Honey has got a question.
One question. I'm a newbie in Drawify. Is this Apple picture you have drawn, or is it a picture, stock picture in the Drawify?
It's in Drawify.
Oh, is it? Okay, thank you. And is the Drawify, we need Pro, I mean, like it's a proprietary on payment, or like it's a free tool?
Axel, do you want to jump into that?
Yeah, so there's it's a paid tool with a free trial. So there's a free trial, and then after 1 month, you have to choose if you continue and in which plan you continue.
Okay. Thank you, Axel. Bye.
Welcome.
Okay. So if you see the apple here, we have a bounding box, what's called a bounding box around it, which is quite a bit bigger than the actual image itself. And what happens then is that if I touch anywhere within this bounding box, I'm going to move the apple, which is a little bit annoying. So what we need to do is literally just crop the bounding box to the size of the apple, okay? And this will make your job so much easier, because once you're managing 2 or 3 images within a PowerPoint slide, it stops you getting into a knot, okay? So I just need to go up to the crop tool, and what you'll see here is you've got some different options. There is an auto crop tool. The only thing with the auto crop tool, if I hit this, you'll see that it actually, for some reason, crops outside the lines. So all I do is I just drag these little lines out so that we make sure we can see the whole apple. Okay. And then if I just hit enter, now I have a bounding box the size of the apple. Okay. So that is the basics around bringing an image into Drawify. Bring it in, trim it so that it's the size of the actual image, the PNG image, and then crop it. Okay. The other thing I do when I am working in PowerPoint with images or with anything is I make sure I have the selection pane open so you can see on the right-hand side. Can you all see the gallery as well, yeah?
Yep.
I'm just wondering if I can just tuck you all out the way. So I do want to see if hands are up. Oh, you're at the bottom now. That was magic. So yeah, you have a selection. I usually have the selection pane open so I can see what elements are actually on my screen. Okay, or on my slide, and also any elements that I might have stored to the side, which you'll see why I'll have that. And even though I brought this imaging called Happy Apple, PowerPoint or Microsoft has a habit of just changing its name. So it's changed it back to picture 2, but I will often rename so I know what I've got there. And it just keeps things easier to manage as well. And this is something I do. It comes from, you know, working as a designer. I label everything because when you end up with lots of things on the screen, it just means you don't go mad trying to find something. Okay. The other thing I will have up here is my the format picture as well. So basically all you do is when you've got on your picture format, on a second. I mean, I've got selection pane already open, but I would hit selection pane, it would open up, and then the format pane would open up as well. But I keep them, and you can even have them as pop-out boxes so that you can move them around. So if you're moving on this, if you're working on a large screen and you don't want to have to keep going up to one side, you literally just click on it and drag, and it'll pop out. Now I can't pop it back in again. There you go. Okay, so we've got them there. Okay, everyone following me so far? Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I won't go into the presentation mode. What we're going to do now is we're going to do a little bit of a more interesting bullet list, because, you know, again, it's a habit that we have when we're doing presentations. We have bullets, but those bullets might have lots of words in them, which after a while, things become very wordy and you start to lose context. And I've got to remember to give you a recommendation at the end of this presentation on a video that you need to watch. And Axel will remind you as well, because we were talking about it before we started. So let's say we have a bullet list and we want to make it more interesting. And so I've got this bullet list here, and I think I'm going to make put another bullet in here. Heck, let's have another one. Okay, and you know, there's not an awful lot of context in here. It's just 4 lots of words, 4 collections of words. So one of the things you can do when you've got a bullet list, don't know if anybody knows this, you can actually convert. Did I see a smile? Did somebody's hand pop up there, or was just somebody smiling? Okay, you can convert a bullet list into smart art really quickly. Okay. Now, some people look at this and go, oh my God, it's Microsoft PowerPoint Smart Art, but you can do some cool things with it. So if I go up here to convert to Smart Art, you'll see you get a number of selection. Okay, and anyone if you hover over, it will tell you where you can use an image. So here we've got a vertical picture accent list. Here we've got a continuous picture list. And here we've got pick anything that says picture, you can put an image in. Okay. So it may be that you just want to make something look a little bit more interesting, or even a timeline. So how about we select this? And straight away, you've got a smart art, a bit of smart art here that is infinitely more interesting than just a bullet list. And so to give it some context, we can then put an image into each of the, actually first what we can do, we can make it a bit prettier in the colors. So we go up and we go to the change color selection, and we can go to any of their themes, or we can create our own selection of colors. So we can change to our corporate colors if you want, but it immediately looks better once it's not in Microsoft Blue. If anybody here works for Microsoft, I'm sorry. Not sorry. So here we have our bullets. So we can change the content of what it says in each of these if we want, or we can change the image. So if I just double click here, I will get my Finder window come up, and I've got some images here that I've already selected. I've got here. So if I take this one, for example, on that first, for that first bullet, and I will get an image popped into there, and we can just go down and select some images. So it's always good before you do a presentation to know what images you want to use and have them ready in your in a folder for actually creating your presentation. And then that means that things get sized properly. You can play with the sizes here if you want. There's nothing wrong with doing that. So I might decide, actually, I want this one to be bigger, and we can make it bigger. So you're not restricted, but it's just things that you can do to, oh, here we go. Let's put another one in here to fill out. All of these images were actually from a presentation I did for a client. It was done entirely with Drawify images, and you're going to see a bit more of that in a minute. So, and if I just do this here, another one. Don't need a company logo, we'll do a TV. So there you go. And you can this is not going to let me, you can edit the image. It's just the stress of doing the presentation is not letting me. Hang on. No, you can edit. You have to go to crop, picture format, and change. You have to change the crop. Okay. So I can actually expand the crop. Oh, there's nothing worse than when you're doing a demo and it won't work. Anyway, you can change it. I'm not going to swear.
We believe you, Verity, we believe you.
Believe me. But can you see, there you go. We've gone from having this to actually creating a nice bulleted list. We can tell a story. It could be a timeline. It could be anything. You know, you've seen the other options you've got for creating some clip art, but you start to put context into a story that you're telling. Okay. So I'm going to stop there and see if anybody has any questions about what I've just done there. Everyone following along? I can only see about 5 people on here, so either that or everyone's just gone. Okay.
Hi, Verity. I have just I have once tried smart art only for the table of contents of a presentation. But this gives me some inspiration. I will try next time. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things that it's there. You see it on the menu bar, and you go, "Oh, what's that?" And then you open it, and you go, "Oh," and then but it's infinitely customizable. Everything we do here, they're all infinitely customizable. It's just knowing what to do, and how to do it. And very often, yeah, I admit that sometimes we're like, "Oh, I'm going to put together a PowerPoint presentation. Oh, I've got an hour to do it. You know, what am I going to do? Quick bullet list." But these are the kind of things, the tools I'm going to talk you through here are things that once you get the hang of doing your PowerPoints like this, it just becomes second nature, and it doesn't take really any more time. And ultimately, I always say, so I teach this visual storytelling course, and very often we become very we're very, very internalized about, I've got to do a presentation, I've got to do a presentation, I've got to do a presentation. And we forget about the person who's receiving that presentation. It's like, and we should be thinking about how am I going to engage people with my presentation. So I think, you know, sometimes just adding that extra little bit of time in is going to make such a difference, because there's nothing worse than just creating a presentation that people aren't going to take any notice of, or they're going to forget within 30 seconds. Another reminder for that video, Axel. So I'm going to show you now, and I think I'm going to keep this again on my workspace. You don't need the sort of the full PowerPoint experiences. I'm going to talk you through. We're sticking with bullets, but this was how I approached a bulleted issue for a client. And this is a client. He's a tax advisor, and he was doing he was going to do a webinar, and it was basically explaining all of the different advantages, disadvantages of being a freelancer versus a fiscal legal entity. And he gave me your typical PowerPoint that some dude had spent years adding to, and you know, so it's, you know, as it evolves, it just gets more and more disjointed. And you could see what he wanted to explain, but you know, he used the tools. It was clip art, you know. So here we go. I mean, this was, and I've left it in Spanish deliberately because you can actually, well, I know Susanna's going to understand it, but you can actually pretty much, once we get the solution, understand more or less what's going on, which is why the power of visuals is so important. So, you know, this was his initial slide, is how do I get started? How do I set myself up legally? And as a freelancer or as a legal entity. And then he went on to the next slide, and you had your freelancer, and you've literally got a list of bullets. He hasn't put the bullet point in, but this is it. This is the list of bullets. And he talks about the cost. He talks about the time it takes, and also how easy it is to actually stop being a freelancer, or not autónomo, as it's called in Spain. And this is the comparative with the legal entity. And what you can see already is these two images bear no resemblance to each other. One of them is a clip art, and one of them is a photo with a blue tone and a shadow to it. So there's literally no coherence between the images. And again, you've just got these lists of words. And so, you know, to tell a story, it's not ideal. So what I did was I took his colors, I got Drawify, and I literally looked for all the images I would need to be able to tell his story. And, you know, that's the beauty of Drawify. If for anybody who is just starting to use it, I think, Honey, I got the impression, was it Honey who was asking about it? That this is a you can customize all of your images to the colors you want, which is what's so brilliant about it. So and I set up just a standard slide. He wanted to stay traditional, but obviously have coherence. So I had all of the titles on one side, and I had my people. Okay. And so what I am going to do now is I am going to switch into slideshow and play from the current slide and see. And this is how I told the story initially, because I used animations in this one. So we had our freelancer, we had our legal entity, and then we started by telling the story. So you can see, as he did, he started with his freelancer, and here I split it into time, cost, and what his actual obligations were on a financial level. So just by using images, we've just pulled a whole load of words out of those bullets. So they're still bullets, but we're using images to actually get the point across. And then for the legal entity, we see that it's a month, so it's longer. It's more of a moderate cost, but the actual financial risk is he's not giving his house or his money up. But just by using those, literally, it's 5 images, because the coin, well, the coins and the euro are 2 separate, but I've joined them together. But just by doing that, we get the point across in a much more engaging fashion, and whoever's watching this presentation is likely to capture the point and the actual, you know, the message much quicker than any PowerPoint with a load of text on. Because the habit you've got is, when we actually give a PowerPoint and we've got a load of text on the screen, we sit and read it. We're not listening to whatever the person is saying. And, ideally your PowerPoint is to actually give it support to what you're saying. So this is a great way of doing that with the images. So that was one way of doing it. And when I did this, I actually used animations, which are great. The built-in animations for PowerPoint are great. But then I actually decided to do it in a slightly different way, where we can put even more emphasis on certain points. So starting again, oh no, sorry, this is the second image where it was the same thing, legal, time and cost for if they wanted to stop being stop their business. So, but this was again told in the same way. So I changed it and decided to do it slightly differently. And so we had our freelancer and our legal entity. But then I decided to put a little bit of movement in here. And you can see the different headings we've got here: time, cost, and the investment. And I decided to put more emphasis on each of these elements. So and this is again just using PowerPoint. What we do is we bring time to the front and we do a comparison between the two. Okay. And then we bring cost up to the front. And compare. So you can see here, I'm putting emphasis. So this is where we're focusing the talk. So I'm doing the talk, I'm talking about my freelancer, I'm talking about my legal entity, but I am leading the viewer's eyes to where I want them to concentrate. So they're not looking at the text on the left, looking at the time or whatever. I'm taking them to where they need to be on the presentation so that I'm keeping them with me. Oh, that's the idea. And then we have the actual, the risk involved for each of the players. Okay. So, and then we just go back to where we were. So this is going to be the fun bit. So I'm going to explain how I did all that. Does anybody want to know how I did all that?
Yes.
Just making sure.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to do it simply. I'm going to do it simply. Okay. I am actually going to come out and just show you my board. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is just show you how I played there with the size of the, is this going to go? Hang on. Let me just, all right, no, hang on. I've got to, let me just go back to play from current slide again. So here, what we do here, I'm going to show you how to do this first, okay? The change of scale. Okay, so I just need to come out and I'm going to come to this slide first. And what you'll see is, oh God, I need to move the gallery again. You're going to get moved around so many different places. So, and I need to bring this down. Okay, so what you'll see here, this is my canvas. And oh no, I need to show you the selection pane. I cannot put you all. Right, you're back down here. All right, then. So what you've got here, well, you'll see the selection pane here, and you can see I've got a number of different elements. Not all of them are on the screen, but we're going to concentrate what's on the screen here. And what's key here is the two rectangles I've got. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Bear with me. I've got random. So what we've got here are the two rectangles which were on the screen. Okay. We have the little guy and the building. Okay. So what I do for this to grow is I actually take this slide and I'll duplicate it. Okay. So I duplicate this slide. And so I've got the exact same slide. You know, I'm jumping between the two and you can't tell. And on the second slide, I make the changes that I want. So I take the little man, and if I want to just shrink him down in place, I will hold down the control key and he will shrink down in place. Oh, he's switched directions of where he's looking. So shrink him down to here. And we're going to make the building bigger. So holding down the control key just means that you actually grow the image from the center, other than when you actually, if you only take it from a corner. So we now have a bigger building, but we need to adjust the two rectangles, and we also need to move him across. So I'm going to move him across to the side, and if I want him to stay on the same axis, I hold down the shift key. So if I hold down the shift key, he will stay on the same axis, on the same axis. If you can see my cursor, if I go diagonally, I'll go diagonally, but you can hold him here. It's just for keeping things neat. This is a designer in me. And the same with the building. We'll move it across a bit. And then we'll take the rectangles, and I'm going to drag this rectangle across and this one across to join it there. And so that's what we want it to look like in the next slide. So we want to go from this to this, but we want that lovely movement. So what we do is we go to transitions and we switch on a transition called morph. Okay. And you can see in the preview, that is exactly what happens. The morph transition is fab. Okay. Has everyone followed that?
Okay. Can you repeat the last one a bit, Verity?
So all of it, or
No, only the morph one.
Oh yeah, so literally, I'll do it again. I mean, I've got him here. So if you take the slide that you want to change the size on, and you duplicate it, okay? So you have the and you take the duplicated slide. So you can see. Can you see on the left-hand panel? I've got two slides that are exactly the same.
Yeah, those all I followed. Only the transition, you select one morph.
Yeah, and on the transition, you just literally go to transitions and select morph, and that's what will create once you've changed the size. So here we can do it in the opposite direction. I will make him bigger, and I will make this one smaller. We'll move this across. We'll move the rectangles so we can just put the emphasis on here. And then I'll morph this, and you can see it will do the same. And when I go to the next slide, it will also do the same because we're using the same elements.
Okay, got it, thanks.
So the other thing I can do if I really want to, and this is how we bring things in, is if you look on all of these slides, I've got these elements underneath. These are just sitting there. These are the elements that I used in previous slides. But maybe I want to bring these elements up into this new slide because we're talking about the cost and the price and the investment. So what I can do is actually, if I move these, bear in mind, they're also on this slide. You can see that, yeah? I just move these up to here. We're not going to get a great fit, and he's lost his text, but anyway. And so now if I hit the preview button, they also move up as well. So this is how we actually do the moving of things in and out of a screen as well. Okay.
One question, how does it record that those elements come along with the building scaling?
It's just basically all it's doing is I'm saying that on this grid, so I've done a duplicate, so I've duplicated this and I've changed the scale of the elements. But on this slide, you can see that these elements are also in the background, if you like. So it's just an automatic magical thing that PowerPoint does is it says, all right, well, lay down there on that slide, and she wants them there on this slide. So if you've applied the morph tool, they will automatically animate in. Does that make sense?
Wow, that is fantastic. Yeah, very interesting.
Now then, there are a couple of things that you do need to bear in mind because sometimes, because it's PowerPoint, it's Microsoft, some things won't necessarily work. Or it might be that if you've brought the same image in twice, you haven't duplicated, PowerPoint might give it a different name. So it might be that I've imported this calendar image in and I want to use it again. I've forgotten I've imported it in. So I import it in again and Microsoft might give it a different name. So what we have to do is we have to make sure that in the selection panel, this is picture 27 in the selection panel, we have to make sure it has the same name in this one as well. You can see it's picture 27, it's the calendar, okay? So if you find something isn't working, you do need to make sure in the selection pane that that element has the same name in each of the slides, because as I say, if you've imported it twice by accident and you haven't duplicated, PowerPoint doesn't recognize it. Okay. Now then, I have got one more thing to show in this, but I'm going to keep it to the end because oh no, actually we could do it. No, I'm going to show you it now. Is everybody still following? We're still all right for time, but we still have to be able to do my automagical video. There is one more thing you can do. On this one, what I've done, if I press the preview on morph, I changed the man into the other. I changed from one freelancer to the other. Okay. And so how I did that, if I go here and I select my man and I look on the selection pane, you can see I've called him freelancer, but I've also got 2 exclamation points beforehand. Okay. If I go down to this image and click on here, it's also called freelancer with 2 exclamation points. So if I want to change one image to another, like morph from one person to another, or morph from a building to a tree or something, I have to give that image in the 2 slides the same name and put 2 exclamation points on. This is PowerPoint 5.10.9.1. This is advanced, but it can be done. And I am planning to do some more PowerPoint training, so I think I might do a little YouTube video explaining that, because it's a really cool thing. You can change shapes as well. So you might have a flower shape which you want to change to a circle, to a rectangle, and things like that. So, you know, it's a cool thing to do. So example, I wonder if I can do it with this.
There's a question, Verity.
Yeah.
And asked a question.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Thanks, Excel. Thanks, Verity. Just looking at this, because I'm not an Apple user, so I'm trying to figure out if some of this is the same. So you have to label it the same. You can't just have, because what I do is I just have one image and transition to the next slide with a different image, but to morph it, you need to label it the same.
Label it the same and put 2 exclamation points at the. It's not, but this is in the selection pane, not the image, because these images have all got their own names. It's because as I say, PowerPoint just calls it picture, and even the numbers aren't. It just randomly gives them a number. It doesn't even go up in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just like, oh, we'll give it 27. This one. This looks like 27 to us. So it's only within the selection pane that you do it. You can do this in Keynote, but it's slightly different. If it's all of these things you can do in PowerPoint, you can do in Keynote. But funny enough, I'm an Apple user, but I do this more than I've done Keynote, just because people use PowerPoint. So you can do these sort of like really cool things. So if for example, I'm going to just draw a shape here. Hang on. Just go to home. I'm just very conscious of this at the time. So let's go to my shape tool, and I'm going to draw a square, a Microsoft blue square, and then I'm going to duplicate this image. Okay. And I'm going to change the shape in this image to a circle. I'm just wondering whether this is going to let me change this to set as default format. Let me format the shape. No, let's just see. I can format the shape. No, I'm gonna just take this out, and I'm going to do a circle. Okay. There we go. We have a circle. And so if I now go to the selection pane, this is called oval 6. I'm just going to call it 2 exclamation points shape. Okay. And then I'm going to copy that name, go to the previous here, and we've got the rectangle, and I'm going to call that shape as well with the 2 exclamation points. And now when we morph here, if I go to transitions and we do a quick preview, there you go. That's magic. So these are little tricks that you can, and you know, once you start building things up, it's actually quite a nice thing to do. I'm seeing that there's messages in the chat. Axel, are there? Do I need to look at these messages, or are these?
It's okay. Question for the recording, if that's available. So yes, it will be. And then Vicky told that it's the same in
Keynote.
No, in Windows. I mean,
all right. Okay. Yeah. Because sometimes it's okay. So now what we're going to do is, if you remember, this is the little video that I made. This was so you can see this was all created in PowerPoint, and we used, but it's more to do with this. This is what we're going to do now. Okay. Get our rocket and our clouds. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to Drawify, and I am going to go to templates, and I'm going to go to this one because it was my favorite, and we're going to open up this. Okay. And so what we have here is a template, and this template is using a really cool rocket. Somebody really nice must have drawn that. And then we've got these clouds, which are all separate. And then we've got these labels, okay? So to build this on PowerPoint, what I did was I actually, if you look down here on Drawify, you can see we've got this. This is our first scene, which is the full scene with the rocket and the labels and the clouds, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a scene, and I am going to actually go back here. I'm going to select the rocket, hit Command C or Control C, I think, or whichever you use, or Alt C if you're on Microsoft, and then put the rocket on here. And then I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to select all of my clouds. No, not the rocket. I want the clouds. Hang on. Oh, well, actually, I'll just select 2 clouds or 3 clouds. Select these clouds, copy them, add a scene, and put my clouds onto another layer. So I'm building up the layers of the actual animation by doing separate scenes. So on the 4th scene, I'm going to go and I'm going to select the different elements of this label. So I'm just going to take all 4, hit Command C, and put it on here. They've rearranged themselves, which is all we need. So if I just go on to this here and I hit the layers panel, I'll just rearrange the labels so that we have everything in the right order. That's it, yeah. So I've now got a label, clouds, the rocket, and I'm just going to do one more label. I'm very conscious of time. So I think the trick is to actually go from the back. So you select the back bit first, then you type, then the round circle, then the number. If I copy them and then paste them on this scene, they should, yeah, see, they all come in the right order. Everything has a level of logic. So select them in the order from the bottom one first, coming forward, and then you don't have to rearrange, okay? So there you see, I've got 5 layers. I've got the original image, I've got the rocket, I've got the clouds, and I've got 2 labels. I don't need to do more than 2 labels. And I'm going to go now and go to download as a PNG, okay? That is now downloading my project. And if I go to my Finder and my downloads, you'll see that it's not downloaded yet. Okay, that's just me being a bit too. Is it downloading? Don't tell me it's not going to download.
This downloaded. I saw it in your. Normally it should be there. I saw it.
Yeah, it should be. No, it's not. No, it's not. Date added. today. No. Oh, hang on a second. Is it? Yeah, here we are. Oh, it's just called itself Happy Apple again. No. Yeah, it's all right. Get the labeling right in Drawify as well. There's another lesson. We're just going to put this over here. Okay, no, I'm not. I'm going to just open it here. And what we'll have here, yeah, we have all of the elements that we need to put into our PowerPoint. So I'll go to PowerPoint and I'm going to create a new slide. Okay. And then I'm just going to go to here. No, I have to. Sorry if I'm making everybody seasick with all of this moving around. Okay, I'm just going to bring these in now. These 4 elements, bring them in here. And here you'll see our elements. So what I need first off is this is the original. And then what I also need to do is create a background. Okay, I'm just going to make this bigger again because so you can all see. So I need to create a background layer. So just go to Home, Shapes. There's nothing worse than having all of this up here. And I don't need professional audio. If I take a shape, because I want a background layer. And then I'm just going to move this to the back. So you know about sending things to the back, don't you? Yep, here we go. And we're going to see here, I just need to use this as my guide here. And then if I go to my selection pane, I'm just going to make it more transparent. If I go to the format, picture transparency, and then we're just using that as a guideline, okay? And then what I'll do here is I'll start to take each of the elements. I need to put that. Oh, yeah, that's the other thing is on a Mac, you can't lock anything on PowerPoint. So I'm constantly going to be fighting here. So I'm going to take this image, which is my rocket. Somehow I've managed to trim the bottom of his flames off, but we won't worry too much about that. I'm going to trim it. So I'm going to go to picture format and crop. So we can, yeah. Oh, this is causing me some hassle here. Right, hang on. Crop. And crop. There we have that. So we can see, we'll move our rocket out the way. I'm going to put him down here because that's where we want him to start. I'm going to take my clouds. I'm going to scale them up. And then I'm going to also crop that. Okay. And I'm actually going to create a copy so that we've got. Hang on. I'm going too fast for my own good here. Sorry about this. Picture format. Crop. There we go. Is everyone still with? Okay. And then I'm just going to create a copy of my clouds. So we've now got clouds here, and this one just needs to go down a bit. And then we have these two, which need trimming as well. I'm actually going to take them up here because it's easier to crop and easier to see. This one. Okay. So once we've got all our elements, what we do is we actually put them in the position that we want them before they come on screen. So I've got my rocket here, I've got my clouds here. I'm going to group these two, okay. Let's see if it'll let me group. Oh, it don't want to let me group. So you know about grouping. You can group things. Here, group. There we go. And then I'm going to take this picture the guide picture out the way, and I'm going to change the color of this to a little bit darker. Oh, I can leave it as it is. Okay, so what we're going to do is start with our, I now don't know how many clouds. Start with our image just in blue, okay? And then I'm going to duplicate this slide. And the first thing I want is for the clouds to come up. So here we go. We have the clouds and they come into place. And then what I want is to go to transitions and just hit morph. And there you go. Our clouds come into place. And then the next thing I want, we need to then duplicate this slide. And we want our rocket to come into place. But what I want to do is make sure our rocket is coming in behind the clouds. And he is. It makes it more cooler, doesn't it? So our rocket is going to come up from here, and we're going to leave him here. Oh, and he's just duplicated himself. Okay. And then duplicate again. And we want our first bullet to come in. Duplicate again. Oh, no. Duplicate again. And then this one comes in. And because the first slide in the sequence is morphed, it automatically applies the morph tool to the rest of the slides. So if I were to now go to slideshow, play from this slide, we'd get this, we hope. So there come the clouds. Oh, that didn't work. Now there's the thing. Let me just see why our rocket didn't fly. Oh, I know why, because it automatically duplicated itself. Let's see if... let me just go here. Yeah, this one here, this one here. So it should be... We'll check. It's called Picture 8 here. And on here, it's called Picture 8. So it should work now. We hope. I'm sweating here. And it's not all hormonal. So we have our clouds. We have our rockets.
Right.
Our rocket's moved a little bit. We can type our text and there you go. So what I did on the actual video was I didn't have text in there. I put my own text in. I brought it in PowerPoint. But basically, that's the nuts and bolts of how I did that video. Now, I have tried to use the PowerPoint recording tool. If anybody works out how to use it, please tell me how, because I have sworn at the camera or at the computer so many times. So when I did my video, I actually I did a QuickTime screen recording because there's no logic to the PowerPoint recording. But yeah, I just literally ran through the PowerPoint and recorded the screen with QuickTime because I use Apple. And then just put the music on you can put it in iMovie or whatever software you might have. But that's how you do it. And you can actually do a narration. You can actually record. If anybody works out how to do the PowerPoint one without having to scream at the screen, you can actually do your narration.
Yeah, what Vicky tells, I was also going to ask. Normally, I do just an export as video, as an MP4 or something. That's what I export as video, and then it comes as a video. I always do that. It's really easy.
Thank you. Oh. Thank you. You can see I'm not a native Microsoft user. I can do all of this, but no, I know I'd done it once, and the thing is, I've been Googling and how do you do it? But export, and I think that's probably what I did ages ago. Yes.
Yeah. So it's really.
And you put the timings in, and then it will export. Right. Oh, I'm going to try that. No, not with this because it's far too long. But yeah, I will give it a go. Right. While I'm still on this with the screen share, is there anybody who needs something else? That's it, by the way.
Don't forget your recommendation, Verity, that I had to remind you of.
Yeah, no, so our recommendation, there is a great I can stop sharing, can't I? Yeah.
Yeah.
You just won't see me. So yeah, the recommendation that I have, and I use in the visual storytelling class, and I know Axel is a great fan of this guy. It's David J. Phillips. He did a TED talk, and it's quite an old TED talk, but he talks about no more death by PowerPoint. And some of those the points he raised. I mean, I always try to use them in the PowerPoints I use, and also when I'm teaching. And funnily enough, one of the key ones he uses, and it's absolutely true, is don't use a white background. Because if you're standing in front of a screen, nobody's going to see you, and But yeah, no, there's some really, really good points in that, and it's all, and it's just really, it's very entertaining. It's TED, and it's David J. Phillips. But if you just Google PowerPoint David J. Phillips, and he's actually giving a webinar tomorrow, which I've signed up for. But yeah, he does, and he actually has two TED talks. There's the one which is No More Death by PowerPoint, and there's another one which goes into the neuroscience about storytelling and using it's not so much PowerPoint, it's storytelling, but it's how we tell a story. So yeah, so anyway.
Verity, can you share me the link for the webinar of tomorrow? Then I can share it with the group. Maybe someone.
Yes, absolutely. I will do. I'll do it as soon as we sign off here. I did it in an hour. So yeah, and was that useful? Did people learn stuff there? Yeah,
I did.
Yeah. I mean, you do have to tinker, but like I said, once you get the hang of it, and once you know, I always say, think about the story you're going to tell, and you look at some of the Drawify templates, things like customer journeys. You can make each point of the customer journey. You have your road going out, and then have each point come up, and you can talk about it. So rather than having the whole journey, and the other, there's a couple of things I didn't show in there, which is where, what I think I did in the bullets that I had is that when you're not. Always make sure that the point you're talking about stands out more, either through contrast, size, or color. And this is in the video that this guy, this TED talk. But yeah, think about those kind of things. So when you're doing, like I said, something like a customer journey, the point you're emphasizing, you can make bigger, you can make brighter, and you use that. So yeah.
Oh. Yeah. I know you are a marathon or a triathlon athlete, but now you did a sprint, Verity. You did a sprint.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, people. We are indeed 6 o'clock, so most of the people have to leave. But anyway, if there are any questions, you can also reach out to Verity. I guess she's on LinkedIn, or you can reach out to us on Drawify, and we can make.
Yeah, people can link to me, can send me a message on Drawify anyway, can't they? So
yeah.
So yeah,
to me anyway. So first, otherwise I guess they can also link you on LinkedIn.
And my website's verity.inc, so it couldn't be easier. Inc with a K. So yeah.
So thanks everyone for being here. It was very interesting, Verity. I learned a lot. Thanks for that. And the next session is not planned yet, right, Jill?
It will be Jesper.
Yeah.
We have to nail down the date.
Okay. Next one will be Jesper next month, and you will find out the date very soon. So thanks a lot for being here, and have a very nice evening, afternoon, late morning, and see you next time. Thanks a lot.
And Axel, do you want to stay on for 2 minutes or?